Here we go. Hello and welcome to my new podcast, Get the Boots. I'm Stephanie, your host, a German expat in the United States for the last 15 years. Before that, I lived in the UK for almost 12 years. And this is the follow-on from Transcontinental Overload, my old podcasts where I talk to other expats about moving and living abroad. It feels so good to start something new. If I've caught you off guard, don't worry. Don't go anywhere. I'll explain. I know some people don't like change, but don't be sad. This is a good change, I promise. So why this new podcast? And why the title? Well, I feel like it's time for a little rebrand. I've been doing Transcontinental Overload for over 5 years and I just needed a change. Some new music, a new framework, new questions, a new focus. And as I said in a previous episode, I want to keep the title Transcontinental Overload for all things book related. Because as you might have heard, my book, Transcontinental Overload, a Memoir of Movement, Meltdowns, and Making a Life in Between, is just about to be published. It's coming out this Thursday, October 23rd, and is already widely available for pre-order, at least here in the US. You can find it on pretty much any bookseller's website, including Amazon. In Europe and the UK, it's only available on Amazon as an ebook at the moment, but I checked and I know in Germany you can already find it on some major booksellers' websites, also in paperback. I will post any progress on that on my social media and also on my website, transcontinentaloverload.com. Anyway, I felt it was time for something new for my podcast. I really want to carry on podcasting because I love talking to people and I love sharing their stories. It's just so important. So why the name, Get the Boots? Well, this is kind of my attempt at being a little bit more playful. Someone in my family once said something to me that had a huge impact at a time when I was feeling really low, when a lot of stuff had happened and I wasn't quite sure how to get out of the hole again. And he said to me, whatever happens and whatever challenge life throws at you, you need to make sure that you keep your sense of humor. And I've never forgotten that. And yeah, yeah, that's basically it. And I am a massive fan of boots, in particular Western style boots. But basically, I love all kinds of boots and I always feel better, more confident, stronger, more myself when I'm wearing boots. I got my very first pair of cowboy boots when I was 13 years old. It didn't go down well with my peers at the time at school, mainly because, well, I lived in rural Germany and not in Texas. And so when I moved to Texas, I was in boot heaven. And of course, now I own a fair amount of boots. I tried to resist from time to time. But and that's kind of how I got to the title, because a while ago I was telling a friend about a pair of boots that I'd seen and how they were absolutely perfect and I didn't have that color boots and yada, yada, yada. And anyway, she said to me, "What are you waiting for? Get the boots." And I thought, yes, actually, you're so right. They'll haunt me. They'll haunt me if I don't get them. And then I thought, well, doesn't that apply to so much more than just a pair of boots? It also applies to mindset. I've always thought I'd rather regret the things I do than the things I don't do. You know, I don't want to wake up one day thinking, oh, I wish I'd done X, Y, and Z. We all have those things. We all have those moments where we think, oh, God, I wish I'd done this when I was younger or when I had the opportunity. And this is exactly what happened when we had the opportunity to move to California, for example. And I described this thought process in my book. I really felt like I didn't want to lose this moment. I didn't want to let my fear win. The fear of the unknown, fear of failure. I didn't want to wake up one day not having moved and then think, oh man, I should have just done it. I should have just gone. So yes, mindset. It doesn't have to be a superficial sort of, I just want this thing, I want these boots, I want this dress, I want this car, I like this car, I want to buy it. And so I'm going to go and get it. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's not always the right moment. We don't always have the financial means or the space for something. I mean, there are all sorts of reasons, but it can also be applied to other things. I want this job. I want to train for a marathon. I want to live in another country. I want to move. I want to change things up. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to go get the boots. So, in short, I will continue my podcast in a very similar way. I mean, it'll still be a platform for sharing stories, and there will still be a lot of expat stories because, let's face it, a lot of expats have become expats because they've gone after a dream, a new life, an opportunity, a change. But it won't just be expats, and that is the big difference. And also, again, I'm using the term expat in a very broad sense here. As someone who lives in another country that they weren't born in or grew up in, just to keep it simple. I know there are other terms like immigrant or migrant or refugee. I know these terms have different connotations for a lot of people. And so I'm just using expat as in that broad sense. I hope that makes sense. As what I'm trying to say is that not every expat is an expat by choice, meaning they've had a job offer or just felt like a change. Some expats live in another country because they have to, and they had to leave their home country behind for other reasons. But I don't want this to be a podcast just for people who've moved or left their home country. I want to hear from all those people who have overcome something, who have learned to embrace it, to grow from it, who have made the necessary changes in their lives, created something new, maybe even feel like a new person. Maybe this new situation was something that they actively looked for and made happen, or maybe it was caused by something they didn't look for. Maybe a life situation that happened and didn't give them a choice. An illness, a loss, a diagnosis. I want to hear all those stories of overcoming and embracing the new. People who went and got the boots. We need to hear those stories so that someone else can hear them and feel seen. Let me just read the blurb I came up with, a new description of the podcast. Everyone faces tough times. Some are chosen, others are forced upon us. What matters most is how we respond. This podcast is about real people who have faced real challenges, setbacks, obstacles, loss, or life-altering changes, such as a move abroad, and found a way forward. Each episode dives into a personal story of resilience, courage, and sometimes transformation. My guests share what they went through, what shifted their mindset, and how they learned not just to survive, but to grow. If you've ever wondered how others manage to rise from difficult moments with new strength and perspective, this is the space for you. Honest conversations, practical wisdom, hope for the journey ahead. I'm Stephanie, and I love talking to people and hearing their stories. Moving on from my old podcast, Transcontinental Overload, where I talked to guests about their experiences of moving and living abroad, I'm expanding my focus to include those who haven't moved countries. After all, life's challenges hit us all sooner or later, whether we've stayed in one country or not. Join me as we uncover what it truly means to overcome and how the toughest moments can sometimes open the door to the strongest versions of ourselves. I can't wait to get stuck in, and I already have some great guests lined up for you. And if you're interested, if you feel like sharing your story, send me a message. You can still reach me on transcontinentaloverload.com as well as on Instagram or LinkedIn. The links are all listed in the show notes. Oh, and one more thing. If you want to be part of this community, if you want to share your story, but you don't feel like being on a podcast, I know it's not for everybody, then just let me know. I'd be more than happy to accommodate you in a different way. For example, I could put your story in a Substack post as a written interview sort of thing. There are so many ways to get a story out there. And trust me, someone needs to hear it. Sometimes it's just a few words that can make a huge difference in someone's life. Just a little comment, a perspective you haven't thought about. Maybe a reminder to keep your sense of humor. Yeah, so that is it for today. I really just wanted to welcome you all to Get the Boots, to this new endeavor, and to let you know that not much is changing here, but a few things are. And that's a good thing. Take care, and don't forget to get the boots.